Love lives here.
All right. So, here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living and Center for Spiritual Living Worldwide, we are working with a theme this year in 2022 of Living Everyday Wonder. Right there on the wall, Living Everyday Wonder. And as we work with this theme, we are looking at different aspects of our lives and applying spiritual principle and spiritual practice and approaching this from a practical standpoint with each of these individual aspects of our lives. And so we've been working through different aspects of how we intermingle and relate in the world. And this month we are talking about relationships. And so we are focused on the area of our relationships. At the beginning of the month, a couple weeks ago, we talked about our relationship with ourselves, ourself with a capital S, what it means of me, myself, and I, me being this incarnation, the myself being my consciousness, that part of me that is the individualized expression of spirit itself, and then the I, which is spirit itself. So me, myself, and I, never inseparable, and always one. And it's a continuum, right, of expansion. It's an individualization of spirit, of the I that I am in form and coming in form as me, walking around, living, breathing, moving, saying, hey, and all y'all, right? And then last week we talked about you and I are we. Right? And so we talked about those interpersonal relationships and how we come together, interpersonal relationships. And so today we're talking about you and me create society. So we're expanding that out just a little bit more. So this might sound familiar. Honey, it's time to wake up. 5 more minutes. Come on, honey, wake up. Today's the day. Right? Sound familiar? Had those conversations in your life at some point in your life? Or somebody has had those conversations with you at some point in your life? Right? Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, one of the great liabilities of history is that too many people fail to remain awake through great periods of social change, and that every society has its protectors of the status quo and its fraternities of indifferent who are notoriously sleeping through revolutions. Today, our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change. Our stated purpose here at Centers for Spiritual Living is to awaken humanity to spiritual magnificence. Let me say that again. That's our purpose, is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And in order to do that and to create a world that works for everyone in all of creation, which is the vision of Centers for Spiritual Living, to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence and to create a world that works for all in all of creation requires us to stop hitting the snooze button. Wake up and get out of bed. Right? Society is an agreement of the people. Our society is an agreement of the people. That means you and me. We create society. So if society is an agreement of the people, then if society is an agreement between you and I and all of our friends and barnyard animals, it's all of our friends, right? And acquaintances and people we live in society with, we've all agreed on something. Ooh. So what have we agreed upon? What have you and I and all of us agreed upon? Look around you. You see what we've agreed to. Watch the news. You see what we've agreed to. Follow what is unfolding in our city, in our county, in our state, in our country, and in the world in which we live. And you see what we've agreed upon. Some of that we label good, right? Hey, I'm all for red lights and green lights, and okay, we agree to stop when it's a red light so that we don't hit each other. Yes. Jossie's like, yay! Right? We agree to that. That's awesome, right? And there are other things perhaps that we agree to that maybe not so awesome, that only benefit a few and not the many, as we've seen and we continue to see and we continue to pay attention to. So those things that we have agreed upon but we're really not down with, simply complaining about those things, well, I think they should, right? Simply complaining about those things or having an opinion about it or, oh my, isn't it awfuling? Isn't it awful? Simply having those kinds of ideas or thoughts that, oh my, isn't it awful? Or ignoring it altogether. Those things don't change anything. That kind of response, that kind of reaction doesn't change diddly squat, right? It only perpetuates it, as a matter of fact. Because if you don't speak up, you're speaking up. If you don't act, you're still acting. Non-acting, non-speaking, non-vocalizing, non-doing anything is actually an act. You are making a statement when you stay silent. You are making a statement when you sit and watch things in your living room, but then don't get out in the world and do anything. You are making a statement. You are taking action. Inaction is action. Not speaking is speaking. So, to move from this idea, or to move from this to me, life is happening to me, life is happening to us, isn't it awful? In order to move from this to me consciousness or the to us consciousness, what do we have to do? You know the answer to this. What do we have to do to move from to me? Things are happening to me. I know you know the answer to this because this is not our first rodeo. Take responsibility. Thank you, Chester. Yes. We have to take responsibility for our lives. That is the opportunity. And when we take responsibility for our lives, when we take responsibility for our actions, when we take responsibility for the words we speak and the thoughts we think and the beliefs we hold, when we take responsibility for that, then we are lifted out of that to me, to us consciousness, and we can intentionally choose how we're going to react, how we're going to respond, and how we are going to act. What we are going to bring, how we are going to show up in the world. And when we do that together. Wow. Right? It's not just us individually. We have the opportunity to do this together. So once again, you and me, we create society. If we want the change, as Francis so beautifully pointed out, if we want the change, then we have to take responsibility and make the change, to take action. Buckminster Fuller said, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." In order to change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. But this doesn't mean that we bypass or we ignore the conditions of our society or the experiences of all those living in it. We don't ignore it. We don't bypass what's happening in the world. We don't bypass the lived experiences of all of our beloveds. We don't bypass that. Because, as Krishnamurti says, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. So just like the ER doctor doesn't ignore the illness or the injury that she sees on her table, she sees it, she acknowledges it, and she works toward the patient's wholeness and well-being. So, we too can name the ills that we see. We can acknowledge the justices and the experiences that we see. And we work towards wholeness, unity, and the beloved community. Now, old-timey folks, traditionalists, I would say, in our movement would say, oh no, we never look at the condition, we turn away from it. If you turn away from it and you pretend it doesn't exist, how the heck are you gonna do anything about improving the life, your own life, or the lives of those around you? Can I get an amen? We have the opportunity to name it. We don't have to claim it. We just simply name it. It's like, okay, yeah, I see this. This is a problem. All right. So instead of denying the condition, what we do is we deny our indulgence in the belief that created that condition in the first place. It's not denying that something is happening. It's not denying the reality of that moment. It's not denying the experience of somebody. But what we do have the opportunity to do is deny our indulgence in the belief that perpetuates and allows that problem, that difficulty, that challenge, that injustice to perpetuate, to exist in the first place. That's where we have the opportunity to do the work. And what we do is we get in there and we do the work there. We provide what is needed in the moment because, my beloveds, that is called compassion. Not saying, oh, I'll pray for you. That's also compassion. But if that's all we do, and we don't move our feet, we don't put action behind the prayer, and we don't relieve the need in the moment, we don't solve the need in the moment, we don't respond to what is present, then we're irrelevant. We're irrelevant. We're like an ostrich or with its head in the sand. Not that ostriches really do that, I don't think, but that's what supposedly that's what they do. But they don't. But accept the metaphor anyway. So you and me, helping each other, responding to each other, supporting one another in what we are experiencing, and helping each other elevate ourselves out of that, helping each other change that, helping each other move forward in that, and it helps all of us lift and change and grow and improve, because as it happens from like the social work perspective, like our social workers, like our licensed clinical social workers, of which we have several here. You work at the micro level. The micro level is the need in front of you. You relieve the need, you solve the problem, whatever is in front of you. Then you work at the mezzo level. The mezzo level is the middle layer. It's those organizations that can change. It's those organizations that can make a difference. So you start working at that level and you make the changes there. And then you also work at the macro level, because the macro level, where it is societal, it is the institutions, it is government institutions, it is health institutions, it's our institutions, it's our systems. You start working at the system level and you begin to shift the system level, because when we shift the system level, then the micro level shifts as well. So it is with our consciousness too. Yes, we address right here what's in front of us. Yes? We address that. And then we address our community. And we also do the work in consciousness, because if we know to do the work in consciousness, then everything cascades and everything shifts. It's a both and, it's not an either or. It's a both and. So it is only when dedicated people like ourselves see a vision of change and we work towards that vision of change that beneficial, effective change occurs. So, beloveds, are you ready to catch a vision? Yes? All right. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath and let it out and allow your eyes to close if you're comfortable in doing so. And let's open to the vision now. You and I, you and me, we create society. So anchoring in love, anchoring in oneness, recognizing that there's only one power, one presence, one infinite eternal, one all in all, I recognize that I am that I am, that right where I am, the power and the presence of love is, life is. I am inseparable from it. I am inseparable from all of creation. All of creation is a sibling, a brother, a sister. And together we create, we co-create with Spirit this life, this experience, this joy. And so anchoring in our oneness and centering in our oneness, we anchor in love, the unconditional love of Spirit, the ever-givingness of Spirit that withholds nothing. The unconditional love that envelops us, surrounds us, pours forth from within us out into the world, expressing itself as us. So anchoring in love and centering in oneness, we begin a sacred inquiry of opening to the vision, of opening to Spirit's highest idea of itself as our society, recognizing that we co-create our society. We open right now to Spirit's highest idea of itself as our society. And we listen, and we allow. Allowing whatever comes up to reveal itself, just simply allowing. What is Spirit's highest idea of itself as our society? And with the next breath, we ask, what must I release? What must I let go of? I personally, accept this word for yourself. What must I release? What must I let go of to be a transparency, to be a vehicle, a vessel for this society, this vision to emerge? What must I personally let go of or release? with the next breath. We ask the next question. We ask the next question. What must I embrace? What idea or belief? What must I embrace? What must I be open and receptive to? What must I embrace so that I may be a vehicle, a vessel through which this vision of society emerges? What must I embrace? And on the next breath, what must I become? What must I become to be a clearer expression of this vision? What must I become? How must I change or grow? What must I become so that this vision of a higher, greater society may express itself through me, as me? What must I become? And finally, is there anything else to be known at this time? Is there anything else Spirit would have me know in this moment? And so I give thanks. I give thanks for that which has been revealed here this day, and I give thanks for that which remains a mystery, trusting and knowing that all is revealed in divine right time and in the absolute perfect way for my clarity and my understanding, so that I may take action upon that which has been revealed. I may take action upon that which I am called to release. I may take action upon that which I am called to embrace, and I most definitely may take action upon that which I am called to become. And in so doing, I align myself with the high vision of Spirit, the high vision of Spirit as our society. The action I take, the actions I take are upon the release, the embrace, the embody, the become. That is where the work that I do is, and then I meet and I create and I come into a greater alignment with this highest idea of spirit as our society. For I know that we co-create our experience. We co-create our society. And what a wonderful world it is to be able to live in a society that has its core values, the declaration of principles that we have, the global vision that we have, the values that we share, that our society in this moment we choose here and now together collectively to step forward and say yes to this society, yes to what it is we wish to experience, knowing that it is the highest idea of spirit itself. And it is a world that works for everyone in all of creation. And so this is what I give thanks for. I give thanks for the willingness of each one gathered here this day to be the clear transparency through which this high idea makes itself known, through which this high idea expresses itself. I give thanks for their willingness to do the work of release, embrace, embody, and become. I give thanks for the collective yes, and so it is. And so, beloveds, through this process, your next indicated step perhaps has been revealed, and it's not you having to think about it, you having to make it up. Spirit has revealed a next indicated step for you, whether it's in the release. All right, so what can I release today? You can ask yourself, what can I embrace today? What can I become today? What am I being called to become? And then just simply go within and ask the next question. All right, Spirit, what's the next indicated step? We don't have to get overwhelmed because there's a lot. There's a lot in our society that we may want to improve. There's a lot there, but we don't have to get overwhelmed by it. Just what is the next indicated step? Perhaps it's seeing a practitioner after service for prayer. Perhaps it's picking up the phone and calling a friend. Perhaps it's assisting a neighbor with their lawn or their yard work. Perhaps it is going and advocating for rights and freedoms. It could be any number of things, but whatever is the next indicated step, just the next indicated step, take that step toward a world that works for everyone and all of creation. Take that step to help create a society in which we all want to live, in which we all prosper, which we all are free and love. So this week, as you interact with the world, pause periodically and look around at the societal norms you and those around you have agreed to, and what you've agreed to follow through with and look at it through a lens of a world that works for everyone. And as you notice anything that may not be demonstrating as a world that works for everyone, then ask yourself, what can I do to be a catalyst of love? What can I do to be a catalyst of love? What can I do to be an ambassador of this society that works for all? And again, once you have that answer, do it, do it, do it, do it. So, beloveds, together, you and me, we create society. We create the beloved community. So, stop hitting the snooze button. Get your out of bed and do something. Huh? You awake? I am awake. Today's the day. And so it is.
Love